This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. The Indiana Pacers are back. They played a game tonight against Memphis Grizzlies, and they won 127 to 113. And all I can say, Facci, is welcome back, Myles Turner.
Whew, man, we needed Myles back. It felt good to have him back. Turner was everywhere tonight, and I'm glad that they got him that extra rest. He looked a little winded at times, but man, did he bring it, especially on the defensive end and the glass. Loved everything we saw from Myles tonight.
Plus 22 for the game, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 7 blocks. He was a monster on the glass tonight, and it was really funny because, a former podcast guest on this show, Maddie Chandler, she now works for Pacers.com and Fever.com. She asked him after the game, she was like, what does it mean to pass Reggie Miller and move into 9th all time in reboundings for the franchise? And he just smiled and said, this one's for all the haters that get mad at me for not rebounding. So I thought it was pretty nice. I mean, I love when we get a little petty Miles, so it's pretty great.
I mean, hey, no, it is awesome. And I think that we could see just how outmatched Indiana was in some of those games without Turner. Awesome to have him back. You mentioned 10 rebounds. Plus, I know they talked about it on the air, but like Turner missed his first 4 shots. And, it's easy to be like, all right, well, what kind of night are you going to have? And he kept shooting. And I think that's everything that we say for Tyrese. Keep shooting. Turner did not let those first few misses slow him down in this game. Still gets up 17 shots. And although maybe the shooting percentage from the field might not be fantastic, he was fantastic in plenty areas in this game. And just welcome back, Myles.
It was great to see. Now let's just talk about this game, Facci, because my goodness, Pacers started out what, 1 of 10 from the field. They're absolutely just getting embarrassed. Carlisle calls a timeout because they're playing so bad. In the very next possession, Andrew Nembhard airballs a three at the top of the key, and I thought to myself, is this the kind of night we're going to have? And then talk about a tale of two quarters. The very next quarter, the Pacers had a pretty good close of the first. They did get 28 points. The bench was massive in that, but and Aaron Nesmith did play a little bit with the bench in that unit instead of Ben Shepherd. That's when he kind of got his points too. So if you want to count Aaron with the bench, like man, that's almost like 22 of the 28 points came from the bench. But I will just say this: the second quarter,
Oof,
a franchise tying 50 points. What in the world happened? And they end the quarter on a 35-13 run. I was just beside myself. They had more points in that final 7 minutes than they did in the first quarter.
It was incredible. They hit 12 of their final 19 three-point attempts in that quarter. You mentioned 50. Turner scored 15 of his 17 in that second quarter. Tyrese was scoreless in the first quarter. You don't know what you're going to get from there. He hits 2 threes in a row, and you immediately saw the confidence. Immediately, it was like, this is a guy who's now looking to attack. He starts getting into the lane. It just felt like everything was clicking in that second quarter. Indiana went from trailing 20-7 in the first quarter to then at one point leading by, I believe it was 26. So things changed dramatically, and I was nervous early on. I thought this team would have some rust. That's why I predicted that the Grizzlies would beat the Pacers when we did our end of the season, predictions. And I've never been happier to be wrong. Indiana woke up in that second quarter, and they honestly never looked back.
I wondered if Memphis would be the team that came out rusty, just because playing on the road,
Yeah.
on the first time after the All-Star break, like it could be a time to be a little rusty. And then I see Zach Edey splash a three, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's going to be one of those nights. I really did not feel good about this early on. I said, okay, the Pacers are going to need the bench to bring them back to life. And I thought the bench really did give them a ton of breath in that first quarter, because if they didn't, my goodness, this game probably is not the way that it goes. I mean, you got to give that bench unit a ton of credit. And we've talked at nauseum about the change between Nesmith and Mathurin, and I don't want to keep talking about it till I'm blue in the face. But can we just talk about how aggressive Mathurin looks as a scorer off the bench? It's just a night and day different person that we're seeing out there. And Carlisle even said it, like, as soon as he put him in the game, they're calling plays for him to get open. And like the very first play, he gets that nice backdoor layup, hits a three later. After Kennard had hit a three, he matches through with that. And you can just kind of see he was slowly starting to kind of like get his groove. But like, I like seeing Mathurin be more of a scorer than trying to be someone that kind of tries to fit in with the starters. I mean, I understand the whole point, right? But it's nice to see him just feel a little bit more freer offensively.
he's not meant to just fit in. It's like a bird, you got to spread your wings. And I think that when Mathurin's coming off the bench and especially early on, he's able to be more of like that focal point. Like, hey, like you said, they're drawing up the plays from get his shots tonight. I thought, he had a very good 16 points. Like, it's just on 9 shots, but he's efficient with it. 6 of 9. He had a great rebound at one point and a putback in this game. I just felt like he's playing good basketball. Only 24 minutes also. So it's just like he got done what he needed to get done in this game, and I just think he's not just being like that fourth or fifth option in the starting lineup. He's being a go-to option off the bench.
We got to give him a lot of credit. 2 steals and a block, only 1 turnover. And can we just talk about that baseball pass that he had to Tyrese Haliburton there in the fourth quarter? Like, I forget if it was like a steal or a rebound or what it was, but he corrals the ball and he just throws a dime. I mean, my goodness. He looked like Jalen Hurts out there throwing a touchdown to A.J. Brown, right? So it's just like beautiful. We're used to seeing Tyrese make that pass, but Tyrese was on the receiving end and Tyrese dunks it. I was just like, okay, like Mathurin, that was a beautiful play. And I think one other play that he had, maybe it was the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe into the third. I can't remember. Everything's running together, but where he had that reverse layup. And I think one thing that has been one thing that I have loved about his game this year is the way that he is using that rim to protect the ball and get his shot up. Like he's got like those go-go gadget arms where he's able to kind of like go underneath. And I'm just like, how is he doing this, Facci? Because he got fouled, he took the contact, he went on the other side of the rim, and I mean Quinn Buckner's getting excited on the replay. Like it's just, I wasn't there to listen to the telecast, but the replay, like Quinn's getting excited. So I'm just like, Mathurin hit some big time shots. I mean, 16 points in 24 minutes is massive. And especially when they were when they were made, because I don't think it was just 16 points casually. It was pretty timely buckets.
No, it was. But still going back to that go-go gadget reference. I mean, just classic 90s right there. Yeah, I don't think I've heard anyone bring up that show, and it's got to be at least 15 years.
Yeah.
So good stuff. But yeah, Mathurin, I mean, awesome. Another really good performance. I just thought this team, everybody chipped in, did their part. It's classic Pacers basketball we talked about. 7 players scoring double digits. But, former original member of Setting the Pace, Tyler Smith, had a great tweet. I saw he had a stat in there. Indiana now improves to 17-2 when Tyrese Haliburton scores 20 or more. How crazy is that for a guy who's averaging about 18 points per game on the year? It just shows the highs are high, the lows sometimes are very low, but this team is just simply better when Haliburton has it going on. Haliburton had a great quote when he was talking to Tyler, basically just saying like, hey, even a shooting coach is saying like, you got to get more shots up. The team's better when you're more aggressive. Tyrese knows this. It's just a matter of being able to do it early on and often. And I think that second quarter, like I mentioned earlier on this episode, once the ball went in for Haliburton, he was a changed man. He had some really good takes to the rim that sometimes you don't see him do if he's missing 3-point shots early on and he just decides to settle for 3. So loved seeing him be really active in the second quarter. That carried over into the second half, and he finishes the game with 22 points, 9 assists.
Yeah, and Myles Turner was asked about it too in the post-game press conference, and I thought Myles had a great answer. He said, I think there was a game recently where Ty only had 3 shot attempts. He goes, I've got to make sure that doesn't happen. I've got to screen harder. I've got to do what I got to do to get Tyrese open more. He said, and even if he's not taking more shots, we need the ball in his hand to be more impactful with his assist and just getting our offense going. So they're definitely paying attention to it, and I like that Myles kind of brought that up just because, Myles is one of those guys that can really get Tyrese open with some screens, and I thought they did a very good job. Rick Carlisle mentioned this tonight on the postgame. I don't know if you heard him talk about the coaching staff that they brought in from the New York Liberty, one of the assistant coaches, I believe it was. They know, I don't know exactly who it was exactly because I didn't get the quote, but somebody from the New York Liberty, whether it's the head coach or one of the assistant coaches, they brought in the last couple of days, and they've been working on how to get Tyrese free when being guarded and face guarded like Jalen Wells was. And so they were kind of going over all the tendencies and things like that. So I thought that was a really good nugget from Carlisle to tell you how, drastically they're looking at this because they know it's been a problem and they know how good Tyrese is and they want to find ways. So if it's going to take, Turner, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam setting these bigger screens to get Tyrese going, they've got to do it because they need Tyrese to be the offensive player that he is. And tonight leads the team in scoring. Probably wasn't the most impactful player in the game, but definitely made a huge impact on it, and it was great to see.
No, it really was. And I do remember what you're talking about now in the quote because they were also talking about how Memphis defended him very well last time around. They were very physical with him. And obviously, for Tyrese to have the type of performance that he did in this game, I mean, says a lot. Also, just defensively, I felt like Haliburton, there was one stretch. It was a 4-on-1 fast break, and they went to go
Yes.
throw a lob, and Haliburton knocks down the lob. It ends up leading on the other end. I think Nembhard got it. Nembhard kicks it to Myles Turner. Turner gets an N1. It's like, great to see that type of hustle. And I'm not trying to say that the expectations were low on that 4-on-1 fast break, but to me, like that was just effort. That was great. It was great to see that defensive effort, and it led to an and one on the other end. So, also just one other point to just bring across, in case anyone forgot. This is a Memphis team that leads the NBA in points per game. This is a good Memphis team, and Indiana had them under control for just about the whole game. I would say, the final 3 quarters of this game. Memphis went on a run. They erased a
Mhm.
26-point lead to about a 4-point deficit at one point, but Indiana never fell behind. They kept their foot on the gas, and this is a really quality win for the Pacers coming off the All-Star break.
No, it really is, and it felt like the Memphis had like really good first and third quarters, and then not so great second
Yeah.
and fourth quarters. And it felt like the opposite for the Pacers, where their first quarter was kind of slow, like we talked about. Their third quarter, they came out, they got on a 7-0 run, and then they got outscored 32-17, the final whatever, 10 minutes of that quarter. So the Pacers really just got their butts handed to them there for a little bit, and Memphis went on a nice run, but it was Obi Toppin who had that nice reverse layup. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled him on that 3-point shot, and that's when things kind of started to open back up for Indiana. I think Ben Shepherd had a big corner three there on one of those possessions. So it was just really good to see the Pacers kind of weather that storm. Everybody knows you're going to go on these runs, and even when Indiana was up by so many points, what did you say their largest lead was 25,
26. 26.
26? So 26 points can be erased. Like we've
Yeah.
seen that happen, especially when there's plenty of time. And I thought Memphis started making some big baskets, and I thought both teams, in my opinion, they started locking in more defensively when they were getting to the basket and scoring. It felt like Indiana in the first quarter, and I know we're kind of going all out of order here, but in the first quarter, a lot of their shots at the beginning of the game were 3-point shots.
Yes, a
And
lot.
and it seemed like
We're
everything
going
was
in.
short and they
Yeah.
just did not seem like they were in sync. So I'm like, get to the basket early on and open it up, open up the 3-point line. Let's try to establish an inside presence first and then work our way out versus, hey, let's jack up 5 threes, even if they're wide open. I get these are professional players and they've been working hard, but like I like the idea of at least getting inside the paint and opening up the offense more because once I started seeing some shots going, boom, it's just like, wow, fireworks. Everything was great. So, yeah, I felt like that was how I felt about the overall game from both sides. But to me, fast break points, Facci, Pacers win that battle pretty handily. And then you look at, of course, the 3-point difference there. And that's something I brought up on that mailbag podcast. How do I know the Pacers win? The difference in the 3-point shooting. Indiana ended up outscoring, I believe, what was it, 15 points that they outscored Memphis by from three? Or was it more?
They had 5 more threes. Yep,
Yeah, so
correct.
15 points from
Yep.
three.
Mhm. Yep.
So
So that's huge. Hey, it's big. This is a game where Memphis, think about it, Memphis got up 8 more shots. Indiana still won by 14. It's like this is just a really good performance. Indiana's protected the rock. I don't know if it was you or not, but like someone put out a tweet recently of it was you. I think that their stats from coming off of the
the
Paris
Paris
trip,
trip. Yeah.
and they were first in the NBA in turnovers, fewest turnovers per game, right?
Yep. First in turnovers and dead last in rebounding.
Yep. They rebounded well tonight and they protected the rock. So I think that those are two things that go well. And rebounding well for Indiana is basically considered like did you keep it even on the boards? And they
Mhm.
did. And I think that that's something that before the All-Star break, they were getting crushed on the glass. New York abused them on the glass. I believe Washington, took it to them. And the performance before the Knicks game was really bad, rebounding wise for Indiana. So great to see them really battle with Memphis, even at times giving up a lot of size to Zach Edey. I know Edey had 9 or 10 rebounds. He had 11 boards in this game,
11.
but I felt like Turner played him really well. I think that it was just hard for Edey to kind of get anything going in the paint. And just shout out to Indiana's defense that I felt like was there all night. We've gone this far in the episode without talking about Andrew Nembhard's defense on Ja
I was
Morant.
about to bring it up
Oh,
next.
I
I'm
mean,
glad we're on the
it feels
same
like a
wavelength.
crime to have waited this long.
It's
Ja
been
Morant had 2
unbelievable.
points at halftime, 2, and he finished the game with 12 on 4 of 15 shooting. This is Ja Morant we're talking about. This was a great performance by the Pacers, and shout out to Andrew Nembhard.
5 turnovers for Ja too.
Whew.
He was
More
in
than
Nim hell tonight, Nim jail, whatever you want to
Yep,
call it. But
yep, exactly.
Nembhard, I mean, and I felt early on too, like let's not just talk about the defense. The video that went viral on social media there in the first quarter, when Andrew Nembhard got that little fast break and that little stop and pump, and Ja Morant flies by him, he did it like twice on him in the first
Yep.
quarter. I
Mhm.
was like, and I thought Rick Carlisle did a great job highlighting this too. And I know that I'm not always just trying to pull out like what he says at the press conference, but when he says really good stuff, like that's worth talking about, I think it's worth bringing it up. So he said a lot of times you'll see teams put their worst defender on Andrew because of how loaded we are with our team offensively with Ty and Pascal Miles. So they'll throw maybe one of their lesser defenders on Nembhard, but Nembhard has such a great ability to create for his own that he can take advantage of those mismatches. And so we'll see. I'm excited to see how Nembhard kind of navigates that a little bit more. Obviously, we know he has a green light to kind of do that. It's been a little bit too much sometimes, but if he's got the worst defender on him or the second worst defender on him, and Nesmith maybe has the other worst defender on him, like you got to take advantage of that. So I just thought overall like Nembhard was so good defensively, and there was times he wasn't even guarding him. Like he might have guarded Bane a few times and had some really nice possessions, but like the very first play reads that pick and or he picked Zach Edey's pocket, right? Was that who it was at the very first play of the game?
Yeah,
Didn't lead to any points, but it's just like you could just tell like
he was
this guy is so locked in defensively.
Yeah, I mean, there was another time where they went to go like inbound the ball to Ja Morant, and Nembhard knocked it out of bounds. Like he was just making everything tough for Ja Morant. And then also, I feel like ever since they made the lineup change, it's been easy to kind of crap on Aaron Nesmith a little bit. He played a good game tonight. He was very active defensively as well. He was a plus 19 in this game. 13 points, 4 of 8 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 7 rebounds. Like to me, that kind of felt like the Aaron Nesmith of last year. He does this all in 24 minutes. And it's like, if Nesmith is giving you this type of play, just, double-digit scoring, hitting threes, he's rebounding and playing tough defense, that's what Indiana wants out of him. Like, every guy has a certain role to play. That is his role, and tonight he played it really well.
He was awesome. I thought this was probably the best game I've seen from Nesmith
I think
since
so.
he returned from injury.
Yes, definitely. Yes, he had a couple moments when he came back where he was like very hot when he played like 10 minutes and was hitting some shots. That's different. This was like a full game type of performance, and I'm in agreement with you. This was the best he's looked in a long time.
He looked fresh. I think his legs looked like they were under him for the first time in a while. I don't think he looked nearly as rusty.
No.
And the way that he was just like the way he was crashing the glass, getting those offensive rebounds. I think he had 3 offensive rebounds, extending possessions, knocking down threes. There had some big threes there at the end of the first quarter to kind of get Indiana within like striking distance from Memphis and not making like a double-digit lead. And I was kind of questioning why they brought him back in. I thought they might go Shepherd, but Shepherd didn't get into the second quarter. So, I just liked the way that he played tonight. I felt like he was very like timely with his shots. I felt like he didn't try to force too much offensively and defensively. Whatever they asked him to do, like there was times I saw him match up with Jaren Jackson Jr. or he was on Desmond Bane or whatever. Like there was times where obviously like he just had to be tasked with other responsibilities and maybe that he hadn't been tasked with, in a while. So I like Aaron Nesmith a lot. I think he's a very good player. I think he's a starter level player. I think Mathurin's a starter level player. So you kind of have 6 starters right now on this team, and somebody's got to come off the bench. So it is what it is, but I like the energy that Aaron played with tonight. I really feel like he was a difference maker in this game, and that's a reason why he was the second highest in terms of plus minus.
Yeah, no, I think he was, and I think that if he can continue to be like this, good things are going to happen for the Pacers. So today is February 20th when we're recording this, which means that as you're listening to this, it will be the 21st. I believe that is 10 days. And for Julia Okafor, I believe that would be, I don't know if it makes a difference with All-Star break or not.
It does. It doesn't count.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to confirm because that's the short end of the stick on a 10-day contract. But, not many days left. So it doesn't get
Couldn't
into the
even get
game.
in garbage time. What's up
I
with that?
know.
Obi Toppin played over him.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's not a great sign. I mean, we heard Chad Buchanan's comments when he was on the show. It didn't sound convincing that they are set with Julia Okafor. So I would be very curious to see what Indiana perhaps does over the weekend to see, do they sign him to another 10-day contract and just kind of have an extra body, or do they actually look to make a different type of move this weekend? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's something to monitor for sure. But, obviously the backup center spot, Thomas Bryant. We've talked about Thomas a lot on this podcast, and I know that like almost everything we've said has been positive. I don't really think we've had any negative comments about Thomas Bryant, but it's really hard to have negative comments about him when all he does is come in and impact the game.
Yeah.
I felt like his energy today in the first quarter kind of shifted things a little bit. Obviously, Mathurin got some scoring in there. Obi obviously gives you a little different look than Pascal, but Thomas got in there and just completely was energetic as normal. He was going at their bigs. He was being aggressive on the glass. Like I know that his stat line's not great, like 6 and 5 in 16 minutes, but like still, that's pretty good. You double that up, that's a double double. So he's a good player. I think that he's very good in this role. I think he's better as a backup than he is a long time starter or a long term starter. But overall, I like Thomas Bryant. I know I just said that about Nesmith, but with Thomas Bryant, I just love the energy he plays with because it's like I just want to like watch him all the time. Like I need a Thomas Bryant camera because every single time he either makes a dunk or like he gets a foul, it's just like he's got the best reactions to everything. And I think the team needed somebody like this that can just come in and bring that energy.
No, they really did. And just on the month of February, a little bit of a larger sample size where, he had to step up while Turner was out. He's averaging 10 points per game, 7 boards, 3 assists. He's doing on just over 48% shooting from the field. It's just like, that is like a very serviceable, solid big man. And it's like, we've talked about how, they basically gave pocket change or, whatever it is, they just got Thomas Bryant. It didn't really cost a single thing. Still don't know how the front office pulled it off, but like he's the type of guy that you just see that like he seems reliable. Like I just feel like he has not bottomed out in a game where it's like, man, he was terrible tonight, or oof, that was rough. You just feel like you kind of know what you're going to get. You're going to get hard play. You're going to get energy. You're going to get hustle. You're going to get emotion. He's going to rebound. Like it's been good. Even if the 3-point shot like wasn't falling like tonight or even last game, looked like he's cooled off a little bit from three. You still know you're going to get all the things that you really need, and that's just quality production from your backup center.
Absolutely. And that's why they need to continue to invest in their center position, which they did in the offseason by getting James Wiseman. But I don't know. I would love to see how Wiseman would have fared if he had stayed healthy.
Like
compared to Thomas Bryant. Like
look, Wiseman played a couple of minutes, and man, he looked good. He did. It was a couple of minutes. I don't know if it was 4 minutes or so or something like that. But you wonder between Isaiah Jackson, James Wiseman, like I don't know, we just kind of get the feeling that like one of those guys, if not both of them, would have played well this year.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. We'll never know. But I think that Thomas Bryant was like that surprise that sort of just kind of fell in our lap. And it was really cool to hear from Chad to say that it was between Thomas Bryant and James Wiseman in the offseason. I don't think they could have gone wrong with either, but in the end, at least they got to see, see Thomas Bryant through.
Yeah, he said, and we like, and he like said it like we knew that, and I was like, I didn't
know that. Who knew that? Like, where was that reported?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was a report out there. We just missed it. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, but thought it was interesting. And you know what's crazy is we've gone like 25 minutes now, maybe even longer. I don't even know what we're at time wise now, but we haven't brought up Pascal Siakam in this game, Facci, the all-star of this team.
I know, but like, I think it's kind of a good thing because it's like this was the type of game that they didn't need, Siakam to be going off for like, 25. I can't say 30 because it's actually only happened like once this year. But like he's just been so consistent that like to win a game where he only had 16 points and I felt like, I don't know, it just felt like a quiet Thomas Bryant type of performance, but it was such a collective team effort that these are the type of games that you want to be able to pick up your teammates on. And I thought he played, he played solid in this game. He was a +4. You're not going to write home about it. The rebounding wasn't great. This 6 of 12. No one's ever going to complain about that. But it was just such a great team effort that It was great to be able to win one, not to say without him, but without him being great.
Yeah, you said it was a quiet Thomas Bryant moment. I think you meant Pascal Siakam
I
there.
definitely meant Pascal Siakam. Yeah. So I don't want to lower his performance down to a Thomas Bryant level. It wasn't that quiet, but it was just great that it was like, hey, we've seen Siakam kind of carry us a lot of the season. Not
Yeah,
tonight.
he definitely had a few baskets there that were really big.
Hmm.
Like I know it sounds crazy, but like when the Pacers could not make a basket after Nembhard hit that first layup, he had the next bucket. I think it was he had like a jumper that was good to kind of get the offense going a little bit after struggling to get a shot in the hoop for a while, and then he had a really nice seal down low. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I forget who passed it to him. It might have been
Beautiful pass. Beautiful
yes.
pass.
He
Yeah.
had somebody sealed on the left side of the basket and basically caught it and just threw it behind his head and laid it in
Mhm.
perfectly. I was like, this dude is so special when it comes to just like the feel that he has around the basket of knowing where he's at and the angles. Like, it's a lot of work, and people don't realize how much work goes into that kind of like, familiarity around the basket. But just like he has such soft touch, and he has just the smarts to know where to position himself at and where to put the angle out on the ball. So, really good stuff. So overall, really good game from the Pacers, like you mentioned. 6 players in double figures tonight.
7.
Seven. Excuse me, I'm shortchanging
Yeah.
somebody. So. 7 guys in double figures. The Pacers get a big win against the number 2 seed in the Western Conference.
Big
And
win.
I think one thing we need to touch on here, it's not really Pacers related, but it is a little bit.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis suspended for
Yeah. No,
25 games.
we
That's a
do.
big talking point for the Milwaukee Bucks.
25. That is a harsh penalty. Look, I'm not going to act like I know, performance enhancing drugs out there or anything of the sort, but I definitely have seen a lot of people compare it to people that have done way worse things and received,
For sure.
just about the same suspension. So, probably a little bit of a strict suspension, but a big loss for Milwaukee. We played the Bucks twice this year. The Bucks were a game behind Indiana coming into this is going to make things really tough for them. Obviously, the trade deadline's passed. There's no real opportunities to upgrade at this time. And they already dealt, Middleton. I know you brought in Kuzma, but this is going to be a tough blow for Milwaukee to basically have Portis miss almost the full rest of the regular season.
Yeah, and one thing it does now is like, okay, if you don't have Portis out there, what are you going to do? You're going to play Jericho Sims a lot of minutes? Like, Jericho Sims to me is
Yeah,
not a reliable backup
not at all.
big.
Not at all.
He's okay. He's average, but like you can't rely on him for like the next 24 games that they're going to be playing without Portis. I don't even know if they ended up beating the Clippers tonight or not, but
Mm.
they were in a tough matchup with the Clippers. I think the Clippers were leading heading into the fourth, so I did not see what the final score was on that. But
The Bucks won, so they won 116 to 110. So they do
dang,
pick up a win. I've seen, Ty Windish, friend of the show, has talked about like, hey, could they slide Giannis down to the 5, have Kuzma at the 4? Sure, you could do that, but Giannis could take a lot of wear and tear as the season goes on. We already saw what happened last year when Giannis wasn't able to play in the playoffs. So it's definitely a tough spot. Brooke Lopez only getting older. I mean, you're just getting thinner and thinner down low for the Bucks. Hey, I wouldn't want to be in their spot right now. We're fortunate to be in ours. Hopefully, we're getting healthy at the right time while other teams, are going to take some on the chin. And tonight, it was Milwaukee's turn to kind of, unfortunately, get it dealt a bad hand.
yeah, for sure. So I do want to say real quick, I am very sorry to some of our listeners that chimed in late for the mailbag, and I said we would answer your question this week. It's too late now, and it's been really weird because like the conversations we've had, it just feels like really random to throw a mailbag question in there. So I haven't been able to answer it and feel comfortable with like it fitting in with the show. We're going to get to that. So maybe on the next episode we can end the show with that. I am very, very sorry. I believe John is our friend's name on Facebook that sent that question in asking about, and basically the whole conversation's about like, did the Pacers miss an opportunity here to, not fully embrace the tank? And that was kind of the mailbag question. So that's a little bit of a teaser there for you. So I don't want to just jump into that question like casually. I want to look into see like get some information on what happened. So maybe we can do that. Maybe you and I can both kind of like divvy that up and figure out what we want to come up with. But I don't want to like let you feel like we just totally forgot your question. It's in the back of my mind that I rarely do that. So I feel very bad that we haven't been able
As you
to
can
address
tell,
it.
it's wearing on Alex.
I
It's
brought it up
late.
to you almost every day. Like we got to answer this question.
He did, and it just hasn't happened. Look, there's been a lot. Chad Buchanan came on. All of a sudden, the Pacers came back from the All-Star break. We pre-recorded some stuff in advance. Things happen in life. We will get to the question. Promise you, John. But This was a great win for the Pacers tonight. I'm glad to know that it feels like, there was a moment when they were trailing about by 20 points to Washington going into the All-Star break where it was like, maybe this team's a fraud. Maybe they made a big mistake not upgrading at the deadline. They find the energy, whatever it is, the heart to be able to pull off that comeback in overtime. Great, they win that game. Then you
Yeah.
wonder, okay, how are they going to respond after the All-Star break? Is there going to be, sluggishness? Are they going to be rusty? They were rusty for a couple of minutes, maybe half the first quarter or whatever it may be, but they finished this game really well. And it's got to give you a lot of hope for the rest of this regular season to be like, you know what? Maybe they did get the rest they needed. Maybe this team is coming together, and now I look at the Clippers, you're still at home, and I look at it and I go, I'm not scared of them. I'm not. I picked the Pacers to beat the
You
Clippers.
did.
I did. I think you had it. I think we had it flip-flopped. You
I
picked
did. I had a loss here.
Yep. So I'm gonna stick to what I said, even though I was wrong on the last one. Let's get another win. Let's ride this win streak to 3 straight games and beat LA.
Let's do it. And I mean, and look, we should have known if this was James Johnson's birthday, we cannot
should
pick a
have.
loss.
We should have. How do you get the guy in on his birthday? I mean, look, there
What
was
are we doing?
Johnny Furphy got a couple minutes late. Jarris Walker, the game's out of reach.
They played Shepard and Toppin.
Yeah, just exactly. Get James Johnson in on his
Get Jaleel in there.
They could have. They should have. I mean, come on. What's
What
a
are
guy
we
supposed to
doing?
do in 10 days if he can't even get in? So, I think James Johnson turning 38 years old. When I saw the number 38, I went, this has got to be it. This has got to be the last year. I mean,
He's gonna be on this team till he's 48.
it's
Facci,
like,
as a player.
38 years old. He's got to be the oldest player in the league. LeBron. Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't older than
But,
LeBron.
it's like that's a different circumstance. It's LeBron James. But regardless, hey, would have been cool to see him in. But happy birthday, James Johnson. Glad we got you a win on your birthday.
All right, we need to give out our award, Jeff Facci. So quickly, who do you think was the MVP of the game?
MVP of the game. I mean, this was just a great overall team effort. So I mean, you can go. You want to give it to Myles Turner? I feel like it was great to have him back. But you could go in a couple different avenues. I think the team should be the MVP. But if we want to give it to Turner, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, let's do Myles Turner for the MVP, and then we can look at that's our Mel Daniels MVP of the game. Then we can also look at our Feisty Foster player of the game. Who do you think deserves that?
I think Andrew Nembhard played some really great defense tonight, and I just feel like he like wiped Ja Morant like out of any sort of relevance in this game. Ja was never a threat. Had maybe a couple baskets, maybe 2 or 3 baskets in like the third quarter, and other than that, I feel like that was his only highlights for the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Andrew Nembhard definitely deserving of that. If there's anybody else I would give it to, it's tough. You can almost give it to Turner again because he got 7 blocks and 10 rebounds.
Turner would have got it if we didn't give him MVP. Because I feel like, how do you not say someone's feisty when they had 7 blocks and led you in rebounding? Like, he very well could honestly just clean up the awards, at least for the first 2. And in terms of like clutchness, it's going to be hard to find like a clutch player in this game. I just think just overall, just timely defense. I mean, I just feel like Indiana just hustled tonight. 12 blocks. I mean, you blocked shots, you rebounded. I just felt like I don't think it was a clutch scenario, but the team deserves a shout out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was not really a clutch one tonight.
No.
So, yeah, we don't have to give anybody that. But I thought this was a good game. Good game to get back on track. Good game to start the final 29, final third. Like, let's get on a win. Let's go on a winning streak. Let's take advantage of being at home. Let's take advantage of, winning and staying in the 4 seed. You got to stay in the 4 seed. I've seen people, like, I think somebody sent us a screenshot of the Knicks' upcoming schedule, and they said, hey, maybe we can climb up to 3rd. I'm like, do you really want that? Do you want Boston in the 2nd round, or do you want Cleveland?
I know.
Pick your battles wisely. I don't really care about what that number says next to me in the seeds.
No, I agree. This is the time to really take advantage of this. I mean, it's 6 out of 7 at home to start, the post All-Star break. So if this team can get hot, I feel like this is the time that you could really, and no Bobby Portis for the Bucks. This is a time to distance yourself a bit because we know a lot of it's also going to come down to that tiebreaker against the Bucks. You still play them 2 more times this year, but if you can pick up some wins right now, I think that could only help you. And I think that right now this team, I know it's just one game. They didn't look great against Washington, but they did enough. I felt very encouraged for what's ahead with the Clippers and Denver coming to town.
Absolutely, Facci. So just quickly here, I was trying to look up the oldest players in the league, and this is entering last season. This is where James Johnson was not on a roster at this point, so he's not on this list. But he just turned 38, so LeBron James, PJ Tucker, Chris Paul, Taj Gibson, all older.
Okay, wow, yeah.
And then I believe, yes, this makes sense. Kyle Lowry, Garrett Temple, Al Horford, and Jeff Green are all older. And then he's
all
right there.
older than wow. That's actually a lot of players. That's definitely pretty surprising because especially for those guys, they're still actually playing. They're still like stepping on the court. PJ Tucker not really. He missed the majority of the season just resting up at home. But I think it's impressive.
He's number 9 on the list.
He's number 9. I would definitely think that he would be higher, but yeah, it makes sense. I mean, a lot of those guys have had really good careers where it's like, yeah, they're all winding down. The thing is, you could probably take almost all 9 of those guys off that list in about one year or so. And that's kind of the scary thing is like the league will be turning over soon. Your Chris Pauls, your LeBrons, they don't have that much time left. And I think that's, I want to say the league's in good hands. Due to the All-Star game, a little shaky, but hey, it's still fun in the league. It is. Also, we didn't say this. We didn't get to talk about this. Off topic. Bleacher Report ranks Tyrese Haliburton the number 1 24-year-old. It's a random thing.
He's only 24 for another 8 weeks or 8 days. I mean,
well, I don't know who won 25. Best 25-year-old, but it just kind of shows there's so many people like we see in the comments. Like, someone said we should strap a first-round pick to his contract and get rid of him. When I saw that comment, we're going to get rid of a first-round pick just to get rid of Tyrese. Like, guys, calm down.
That's insane, Facci.
It was nuts.
You mentioned the All-Star game. I will say this. I have been kind of like mulling over some ideas after listening to podcasts talk about it. I'm not going to share it tonight, but I definitely have an interesting idea that I want to run by you sometime on the podcast, and I want you to give me your honest opinions on it. So we'll talk about it then. But I think it's really interesting. It's definitely a twist on things. So
man, stay tuned. We'll find out. I did read though there was the second lowest viewed All-Star game in NBA history. I know.
Yeah, we didn't watch any of it. So
I mean that's the thing. If like guys who do a basketball podcast like 5 days a week didn't even tune in, then like why would the average person who's a so-so NBA fan tune in? So it's a problem. We'll let them fix it.
Yeah, the only thing that could be worse than the All-Star game is NBC actually following through and hiring Gilbert Arenas as an analyst.
I did see that. I thought that was unique. I wonder how long that would last because he's he would
get fired in year 1.
Exactly. He could very much say the wrong thing at any given moment, and I don't know how long that'll be lived, but we'll see.
Yeah, NBC, we do not need another Kendrick Perkins for hot takes on your show. Learn from their mistakes on ESPN and do not replicate them. So, anyway, Facci, we got to get out of here. It's getting late. It's 11:30 as we're recording this. It's almost 11:35 now. So, Facci, you got to get your beauty sleep. We know how that works. So, if you're glad the Pacers got a big dub over the Grizzlies and you're hoping they can continue by beating the Clippers on Sunday night, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.